Something with the displays. Okay. Yeah, they made it an extension instead of, okay. Okay.
Stacy.
She's not in here.
Awesome, but you just gave me the sound check I needed. Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was it?
It was good. It was good.
Nice and relaxed.
Yes. Yes.
And now look out world, here comes Jamie.
Did you not say? No. Well, we had somebody here a minute ago to check in signs, but he left.
Was it Amir?
No, Scott.
Oh.
What?
Did he leave the?
Oh, I was like, did he leave? I was like, somebody was here. I think Scott was here, but I think he might have left.
No, I came back.
Okay.
I just wanted to grab my computer.
Yeah,
I grabbed all the signs at once and then
it's a lot of signs.
I figured I could grab my computer at the same time.
Okay, here we go. Oh, it's not in there. Okay. Margaret, I'm just trying to figure out how to get that next meeting up on this screen here in a minute, in an hour.
Okay, I'll probably try and cut 5 minutes early so you've got time.
Because I don't know, like I'm not logged into an email here. I could if we have the right.
Yeah, if you just log into my Gmail account,
You'll have it on your calendar.
It's on my, I know for sure it's in my Outlook or in my email.
Okay.
Yes, the calendar invite also has the Zoom link.
Okay, perfect. I'll just do that.
Yeah, it'll probably force you to register. It always does. And so you'll just have to register under your name, not mine, because we'll be using the same link.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, Jeff Foreman, you are making me so nervous. He is so totally pulling a Margaret, driving with a camera on and eating in the car. Yep, that's what he's doing. But is he doing it at 90 miles an hour down the interstate? I mean, that's the big question. Because I have Eric Anderson who keep me from getting in trouble. So, all right. So with that, welcome everybody. In the room, I'm seeing Jamie and Scott's behind Stacy. So, and then Stacy. So is there anybody else in the room with you guys?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Awesome. Well, hopefully some more people will join, but I like to make sure we're on time. So my first question is, we had a bunch of open houses going this weekend. So I want to hear about them. Marquis, Scott, to you.
I mean, the first one I did was in Firestone. We didn't have a whole lot of activity. We had, I think, just one person come in. It was interesting that when she filled out my feedback form, she marked, she was interested in lending information, but she was a homeowner. So I don't know whether that was an error on her part or, but I mean, but nonetheless, probably a good reaching out point just to touch base and see where her head's at and a good conversation jump off. Marquis and I did one yesterday. I think we had 6 or 7 people come through. A lot of activity. The house itself, I mean, move-in ready, I don't know. I mean, sparkle bucket, I think it needed more than a sparkle bucket. It needed a pro. I mean, to come in and really clean and this and that. I mean, because in order for me to clean it, I mean, I'd have probably had to been there 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, gosh.
Well, so did we give that feedback to the listing agent that the house was a little less than clean?
You know, when I emailed her yesterday, thanking her for the opportunity and stuff, I mentioned if we did have one person that had an agent that was very interested in it, just because of the uniqueness and stuff like that, if that person doesn't put in an offer, you're definitely going to want to get someone out here to mow the grass because the grass was getting out of control. My son's available. He's 9.
There we go.
And then, you know, just the cleaning. Marquis at the very end opened up the fridge. There was still an egg in there, and my goodness, it was
Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we ran out at the end. Hopefully, no one else had opened up the fridge and.
Yikes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. So yes, the people who are asking for that lending information, we absolutely want to reach out to them, right? Hey, I noticed that you inquired about some lending information. What can I help you with? Great excuse to reach out, and they asked you to. So I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So my question is, you were in a home in Firestone that either the people were still living in or it's staged, and then you were in a vacant home. What would have been your takeaway from being in those two environments over the weekend?
The one that was staged in Firestone versus the vacant.
Yep.
The vacant, I mean, another takeaway is probably, you know, I wish the listing agent had listed, you know, had brought in some lights. Potentially, the vacant home was very dark. And all of the bedrooms, the living space, it needed some lamps. You know, let me know I could bring some lamps. I was just unprepared. Versus one that's staged. I mean, it was much cleaner, much more presentable. You know, I mean, I guess it wasn't staged, it was clean, but it was clean and it was ready to go, ready to be.
Yep. Presentation is everything, right? Presentation is everything. So awesome. All right. Did anybody else work open houses this weekend?
That's Taylor.
I was going to say, tell her to get into view so I can see her.
I'll move over.
Sorry. A little better? No.
Almost.
There. You can do that.
So Taylor had a very interesting open house experience on Sunday. So Taylor, first of all, tell us what happened.
So I tried to, there was just like a huge sign issue, which is good because there's tons of open houses, but there's not enough signs for all of us. So I was originally going to get my signs Friday at 3 p.m. and then I had changed. There was a Friday group, and I was supposed to pick it up from them. And then it just all got messed up. So I actually didn't have signs this weekend.
Okay,
But
so stop. So
Okay.
you did an open house with 0 directional arrows.
yes,
Okay. How many of you just went, ooh,
Yeah.
I know I did, right? Okay, so Taylor, what happened?
so
Nobody
we
showed
don't
up, right?
No. I was actually a little bit nervous because for the first like 30 minutes, one person had come in. So we door knocked the neighborhood, which I thought, like, if we don't have signs, at least we're door knocking like 40 doors. But no one answered their doors, like literally not a single soul on Sunday. So we were like, okay. So then we were just walking around and then I saw these people at the little like community garden. So I was like, oh my gosh, you guys need to come. Gave them a flyer. So they were like the only person in for like the first 30 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think signs were that important and I am proven so wrong. But then at around like 1:30, we had pretty steady traffic and we ended up having like 6 groups through, but a lot were with realtors already, but my lender got a really good lead, so it worked out.
Awesome. So what's the moral to the story?
Pick my signs up at 3.
Whatever.
Yeah.
There is, okay, I will give you that one. There is that. Okay, however, there's more to that. Okay, so the more ways that we spread the word about our open houses or whatever we're doing, the better chance we have of success. Right?
Yes.
So if you go back to the open house mastery, and we're working on finding the video and uploading it into the Zoom, into the YouTube channels. But when you go back to that and you think about what Diane talked about, Diane and Linda, I mean, who was there? Who went to that mastery class? Several of you. Awesome. All right. So let me guess. They just put it in the MLS and they're done, right? No, they put it in the MLS. Oh, they just do a Facebook ad, right? Nope. Right? How many different ways do they market their open houses? Because as consumers, we take content in differently. Right? So they sign 15 to 20 signs per open houses and they stack them, right? They stack them at the corners, right? Because one sign in one corner ain't going to get it. Right? But Taylor just proved we don't need signs. But because it was in the MLS and because they door knocked and because it was on Facebook, we don't know what generated that activity. So as you're preparing for open houses and when you're doing open houses for your own listings, this becomes even bigger, right? But all the different ways that you can let people know you're out there with a listing and an open house, the better chance you have of getting more people to show up. The sad part is we can't control the weather, right?
Yeah.
Jeff's saying goodbye, or he's putting us on hold or doing something. Right. But the sooner, the more places we hit, right, the better chance we have, right? Because Stacy and I've done open houses together for 9 years, right? And I always ask the question, so how did you find us today? Does anybody else ask that question when you're doing an open house? I think it's super important because it validates what we're doing. There will be some open houses. Oh my God, I saw your signs and I decided I just had to come. And that open house is all driven by the signs. The next one, yep, we saw it on Redfin. Well, that got driven off the MLS. The next one will be, well, you left a flyer in my door. Okay, well, my door knocking worked today. Right? So you just never know what's going to work. So the moral to that story is, even if you don't hit one of that marketing elements, if you've got the other marketing elements in play, it doesn't mean that you're just going to sit around for 2 hours to keep the seller happy. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. So make sure, and I try so hard, you guys, when you guys are using these open houses from us in the coaching program and we assign them, I do everything I can to get those out to you guys as early as I possibly can. But it is a big jigsaw puzzle, especially when we have 6, 7, 8, 9 open houses in a weekend, lining up who can work when and what part of, like, there's just a jigsaw. Here's the key. Do you have templates built? Right? Do you have templates built for your open house Facebook pages? Right? Do you already know? So all you have to do is drop in a picture, drop in some verbiage, and boom, it's ready to go. Right? Do that creative work up front so that if you get in a situation where Margaret doesn't send the open houses out until Thursday night at 7 o'clock because it was a big jigsaw, you still can get everything done. Does that make sense? Questions on that? All right, Taylor, so you had a good open house too. Awesome. All right. I don't know where everybody is. I did send an email telling us that this was a combined group today, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
awesome. I was afraid I lost my mind. All right. Okay. So today, I want to talk a little bit about database. So when you guys hear the word database, what does that mean?
Something that I haven't done.
Okay, something I haven't done. Okay, you just got 9 accountability partners who are going to help you get that done. But what does it mean? What is a database?
All of your contacts.
All of your contacts, right? It is a place where you have your people, in this case, a conglomeration of where you store information. And in this case, when we're talking about a database in our businesses, we are talking about a place where we store all of the people so we can communicate with them efficiently and effectively and have notes. Because I'll tell you, if you're building a big business, someday you're going to want to retire, right? Anybody want to retire? Or am I the only one, right? We all want to retire, right? So if you want to retire, when you decide I don't want to sell real estate anymore, what do you have left for your business? If I was going to build Chick-fil-A, if I was going to go buy a Chick-fil-A franchise, I don't know, I think that's what I saw Jeff eating, but if I'm going to go eat a Chick-fil-A, if I'm going to go buy a Chick-fil-A franchise, when I decide to retire, what do I have? You're on mute, Marky.
Residual income.
I either have residual income because I'm paying somebody to run the franchise for me, or what else do I have? I have something to sell.
Yeah.
I have an asset, right? I have an asset that if I've done my Chick-fil-A business well, I can sell it for a lot of money, right? What happens to your real estate business? If you decide, if you won the Powerball tonight, okay, how many of you are like, yes, please, right? If you won the Powerball tonight and you decided, I'm never selling another house, never selling another house, okay? What do you got? What do you have left in your business? Only thing you have to sell as you are working your tails off to build these businesses is your database, right? Because you're not going to sell yourself. So how do we build a database that when we get to the point where we retire, we have something of value, right? Isn't that what we're working for? Different way to think about real estate, right? I'll bet some of you are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I just want to sell a house. So our database is this place where we're going to store all of this information. We're going to communicate with the people within that database on a regular basis with the intention of them doing what? Doing business with us, right? Or better yet, I don't want their business. Whose business do I want? Oh, I heard something.
They're friends.
We want their friends, right? We want their family. We want their referrals, right? They're only one transaction. If they have a big circle of friends, I want their circle, right? And then I'm going to put those people into my database and I'm going to start talking to them and nurturing them and that type of stuff. So I believe for those of you that are newer with us, Elizabeth, as part of your onboarding, had you upload all of the people in your phone into Command. True?
True.
Okay. But who else isn't in Command? Who else is part of your database, part of your world that wasn't in your phone? The goal number is to have a minimum to start of 201 people in your database. Okay. So I don't know how many you had. Like if I uploaded my phone, it would be 800 and something. Of course, I'd have to eliminate 90% because you're all realtors, because you're all in my phone. Okay, great. But here's the thing, get them into your database. All right. So for those of you that didn't have that automation, or you have people in your world that aren't in there, how do we get them in? Okay. Questions on that so far? Like why we're doing this? Now there's some tips that I'm going to give you with your database that are going to help you be able to effectively communicate with them. Because just putting them in this repository just means they're in a repository, right? They probably don't even know they're there. So we know we need to communicate with the people within our database, or as Jason Abrams likes to call it, our data bank, right? And what do we know about them? And the more information we have, the more complete that information is, the more effective we can be, right? So what do we want to have? Well, in our perfect world, we would have phone, address, email, date of birth, date they bought their home, the name of their employer. Oh, and the link to their social media. That one will get you some points too. The more information we have, the more we can communicate with them. Now, if you just uploaded your phone, if you're like me, you probably just have people's phone names and phone numbers, right?
Yep.
And for some of you, your database might read Grandma Jean, right? Because a lot of times in our personal phones, do we put Mike Strickland? No, we might write Uncle Mike. True? Or am I the only one that puts people
Yeah.
in my phone that way, right?
Neighbor
Right, so-
Bob.
Neighbor Bob. Exactly, right? So we need to find Bob's name, right? And it's probably not Isabel. All right. So how do we do that? And how are we going to do this? And oh my God, Margaret, I just uploaded my entire phone list, and that's 600 people. So there is a system that we call DTD2. Not R2D2, but DTD2. And what that stands for is do the database too. Has anybody heard of it? Some of you might have. Has anybody heard of DTD2? Has anybody not heard of DTD2? All right, thank you. All right. DTD2 is a system that breaks our database into consumable pieces. How many of you guys have ever heard how to eat an elephant? What do we always say?
Yes.
One bite at a time.
What do we say, Liz? When we're going to eat an elephant, what do we say? Okay, it's one bite at a time. That's how we get our database update, one bite at a time.
One bite
10
at
a
a
day.
time.
One bite at a time. Exactly, right? So that's what we're going to do with this big database that you just dumped in there, and it's just a bunch of phone numbers and names. So DTD2, we know history has taught us, people have studied this 7 ways till Sunday, that if we talk to voice with our people 4 times a year, it is one of the most effective ways to make sure that we're staying top of mind with people, to continue our relationship with people, because at the end of the day, the database is about your relationship. Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So how many weeks are in a year?
52.
52. And I want to talk to them 4 times a year. So that's once a quarter. So how many weeks are in a quarter? If I take 52 and divide it by 4, how many do I have?
13.
13. So I need to get through A to Z in 13 weeks. Okay, so now let's ask a different question. How many letters are in the alphabet?
26.
Thank you. And if I need to do 26 letters in 13 weeks, how many letters do I need to do a week?
Dose.
Ooh, exactly. I
Two.
saw some peace signs come up. I was like, I love it. All right. So we only need to do 2 letters a week. But where do I start? Like if I look at my database, I got to tell you, I came from the Midwest, man, there are more Smiths and Thomases back here. So if I just went A, B, C, D, E, F, my S&T week would be huge. But my F and G is pretty small. Well, that we all have that, right? You've got certain letters in the alphabet where you have more than you're going to have others. And someone very smart did a lot of analysis of names across the world, across the globe, of different nationalities, different everything, and combined letters into 2 name buckets to normalize some of those things. So as an example, the first week of the quarter is my favorite week. It's A&W week, which means it's ice cream float week. Get it? Root beer floats, A&W. All right. Come on, you guys. I'm in a room by myself. I need you. I need your laughs at my stupid jokes. So anyway, they combined all of these letters, right? And so one of the things that we're going to send out to all of you that are here today is we're going to send you the DT2 schedule. And the DT2 schedule will actually show you by week. Yep, I got it right here. Good thing it was close. I didn't make Stacy scramble to find things for me. So if I quick do a share, oh, can you make it so I can share, Stace? But it breaks down the letters so that you can do that. So one of the first things you could do is you can go into your database and you can tag them. Have you guys all heard about tagging in Command?
Yes.
It's a way to label people, right? I would tag everybody in my database using this system, because then I can filter on them and I can do this. So if I'm using this week's schedule, and this is the week of June 12th, this week we should be calling our T's and J's. You guys see that right here? And then we text our K's. So for those of you that are in Ignite, hopefully we're working that. We're going to call T's and J's and build relationships with our T's and J's, and we're going to do K. Next week, it's I and Q. If you run out, you just go back a week, P and L's. Okay. So this is how they break them down. Now, you guys are going to go, well, gee, Margaret, the first week of every quarter is A and W, and the middle is always M and X. People are going to know that I'm doing this way. They're going to just know that I've got some kind of schedule. How many of you thought that? Okay, good. I did, right? My little brain went, oh my God, they're going to realize I always call them the first day of, or first month of every, first week of every quarter. They don't. They're just happy to hear from you. Okay. Questions on this so far? Nothing? Okay. All right. So we also had text letters, right? We had text letters, and this week's text letter is K. Yeah, I took it off my screen so I didn't see it. K. What do? We just text people. What I like to do with my text letters is those are the people that I invite to coffee. Those are the people that I invite to lunch. So let's just do that. So everybody grab your phone. They're going, uh-oh, she's going to make us do something. All right, so we're going to go to our last name, K. And I want you to pick just the top K person. Everybody got one? Everybody got a K? Here's what you're going to text them. Now, if this was your grandmother, you might have to tweak this, okay? But in my case, this is a friend of mine that I haven't seen from a past job for 2 or 3 years. We've talked on the phone, but I haven't seen her, any of that type of stuff. But I'm still going to send this text, although I'm going to have to adapt mine since I'm not in Colorado. Okay? This is what you're going to text. Hi, whatever their name is. And now you can tweak this. I would write, I saw your name in my phone as I was scrolling today. Realized I haven't seen you for a while. Do you want to get together for? And then you decide. Coffee, lunch, happy hour, breakfast. You as the agent, you decide who you want, what you want to be with this person. Because this person might not be somebody you want to sit and share a whole lunch meal with. Right?
Margaret,
But they
this
could
is,
maybe, go ahead.
sorry, the issue that I'm having with just like this form of lead gen is that I don't know a lot of people in Colorado. Most of the people on my phone are either from Arizona or Chicago. So like I don't have a ton of contacts or people that I can just sit down and have lunch with or anything like
Okay.
that. So like
All right.
how do I tweak that message to them?
So you're out of town, right? So that's a great question, right? So your out of town sphere can still help you build your business, right? Because they can refer business to you. Like even if your Chicago family has somebody in Chicago who needs a realtor, you can find a realtor in Chicago for them, and then you get paid a referral fee. Keaton Crawford, her first year she capped, she did it 100% on agent to agent referrals because her network was out of state. And so she built a program around letting her people who are outside of Colorado know she was in real estate and she could still help them. And so therefore she would connect the consumer with a realtor in the area. And when the deal closed, she got a 25% referral fee. So that's one thing you could tweak that, Marquis. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey man, I haven't seen you for a long time. You got time? Let's jump on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call and would love to see and connect, right? Tweak it a little bit, right? Do a virtual coffee, do a virtual happy hour. Taylor Vonderock.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm on Facebook a lot too. So like if you join any Facebook groups, I just get coffee with like new people that have like just moved here. And that's another really good way.
Okay.
So
And
what
it will
Taylor's,
change, Marquis. I was in your boat 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I have a lot more contacts now. So just keep up with it.
Okay.
love that. So what Taylor's doing, I want to expand on that because she didn't go deep enough, is she's joined some Facebook groups. And in her case, it's one that's new 20s to Denver or something like that, some community group that's her people, right? New to the area, all trying to find community. She's gotten to know people in there. So she's using the safe place to go meet them, which is where? The local Starbucks. Right? So you could do that way. Elena Dorland, who has joined us, has a slightly different twist on that. What Elena does is that she's got these super cute 2 little boys, and she isn't part of a lot of mom Facebook groups. And so what she will do in those mom Facebook groups is she will arrange play dates with other moms who have kids her same age. So there's ways, Marquis, and I love that you asked that question, like your timing was perfect on it, right? Is there different ways to meet people and still utilize that kind of stuff? But for this exercise today, I would just create a virtual coffee with somebody back home and have an excuse to catch up with them for 10 or 15 minutes, but use a face-to-face technology like I'm seeing many of your faces today. Huh? Questions on that? Thoughts on that?
No, that sounds perfect. I didn't even think about doing like a Zoom call with people that are not in state. So thank you.
Sure. I mean, during COVID, and it's been interesting, I've been re-listening as I've been driving to Gary Keller's podcast. And by the way, if you ever get a chance, Gary's podcast, Think Like a CEO, is really huge. Awesome stuff. And I went back to the beginning, which was like 2018 or 19. Like he's been out for a while. But right now I'm in with the podcasts he did during COVID when we were on shutdown. And I don't know, who was in real estate during that time? I was, Stacy was. Jamie, were you with us yet? Yeah, you were. Jeff, I can't remember. Yeah, Jeff would have been too. You know, we had to get pretty doggone creative back then. Right. And so some of the things we did back then, first of all, pre-COVID, you all wouldn't be seeing me because I couldn't have joined you. Those of you that are on this screen, the Brady Bunch screen, we wouldn't be doing this coaching this way. We'd all be in the training room, and that would have been the only way we would have done it. Well, here's the other thing we did during COVID is how many of you during COVID had family game nights? How many of you did family happy hours? How many of you used Zoom or some Google Meets or whatever technology choice you have to stay connected with your friends and family at a time when you couldn't go meet them because we didn't know what the world was going to do to us? You could still do those same things with out-of-town people. What if you did an out-of-town, like, I don't know, let's pretend you got a bunch of sorority sisters or frat brothers, right? And you haven't seen them together. What if you put together a Zoom call for all of them that are scattered all over the country? What would that look like? Stacy's going, oh my God, her wheels are turning this morning. She's got new stuff flying out of her mouth like she's never said before. All right. I got a good night's sleep last night, so you're getting the best of Margaret right now, partially. The creative side is out. Anyway, think outside those boxes, right? How can you utilize technology and then build those relationships with your out-of-state family? There is nothing better than spending, oh, I don't know, 10 minutes connecting someone I know somewhere else with an agent I know somewhere else and getting paid 4-figure checks that come in the mail. Questions, thoughts? Okay. All right. So we talked about DTD2. I'm going to send that out to all of you that are here. You're going to hear there are a multitude of recipes and different ways to work our database. And what we know and what we said was everybody takes in content differently, right? So there are people that are going to respond to your phone calls or your text messages once a quarter. But is that enough? Probably not. So one of the best practices is that we should be talking to our database 36 times a month. Oh my God, no, 36 times a year. Okay. And there's a variety of different recipes for that. And so I was reading one of my coaching recipe books last night. Oh, you can't see it because I'm on this silly Zoom thing. I don't know how to do this. Anyway, with one of the coaches that I spend a lot of time with. And this is what their team does. And this is a team that sells over 100 homes a month. Okay. Well, if it works for them, it's got to work for me, right? I just scale it down a little bit because I don't, as an individual, can't sell 100 homes a month by myself. But I could use the tools that they're using and the recipes that they're using to build my business. So how many of you would like this recipe? All right, I got a couple hands up. All right, so the first one is 4 calls. Now, they even have broken down this recipe even a little differently. So their 4 calls are 2 for business and 2 for what they call value. Okay. So in January and July, so we are to the midpoint of June already. So starting in July, we would start the business calls to our database. And they use a script that's called I Have a Goal script. And one of the classes I'm going to be teaching in the Market Center in July is a mid-year business planning clinic. Okay, what do I got to do? For some of you, we've already started. I know Liz and I last week started working on her GPS for the last half of the year. And so for many of you, we will sit down and do that soon. So we have what we call I have a goal script. So I will send that out to you guys as well, right? I have a goal, and you literally call up your sphere and I'll say, hi, Erica, it's Margaret. How are you doing today? She's going to reply. And I would say, well, the reason I'm calling is I have a goal to help, you name it. I have a goal to find 4 listings in the next 4 months. I have a goal to help 7 families. I have a goal to help 3 families, whatever it is. And I am just calling to share my goal with you because what I know, Erica, is if I share my goal, you are going to do two things. You're going to hold me accountable to that goal, and you're going to help me in any way you can. How many of you guys could call somebody and say that? There we go. Because if I called every single one of you up and said, I have a goal to lose 10 pounds in the next 3 weeks, how many of you would help me with that? How many of you? There we go. I know Jamie would. She would kick my butt. That's why my knee's back in shape, because of Jamie. But you friends would help you, right? And you guys, for a lot of you, you're introducing yourself as a real estate agent. So in the conversation, you can say, you know, it's going to come up. It's going to naturally come up. How are you doing? They're going to say they're great. And then they're going to ask, what's new with you? Right? Isn't this a normal conversation? You call up your friends. What's going on? What's going on? Hey, you're never going to do something. I got a crazy thing and I went and got a real estate license. And as a result of that, I have a goal. Right? It can flow very naturally. The key is we got to practice it. All right. But we're going to do 2 of those. I got a goal in January and July. In March, in this particular team, they invite their clients to a client event. And we're going to talk about client events here in a little bit. But in March, so in the second quarter, they're all about inviting people to a client event. You might have to tweak this for your business, but just it's a recipe, right? And the best recipes, according to people that cook like Stacy and some of the rest of you, you don't follow the recipe exactly, right? You always got to tweak it. And then during the fall, during Thanksgiving, they make a warm and fuzzy gratitude call, a thank you for the business call or something like that. So that's your call recipe. Okay. 4 times a year, they do a mailer. In the first quarter, they do a year in the review. Goes out in late January, early February, and it talks about all the things that happened in the prior year. So what would that look like in your world? Number 2, client event invite. So they do their client event. Their client event happens to be opening day for the Detroit Tigers. That's the baseball team, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I was like, did I say that right? Or was that the football team? But you could do the football team, right? I mean, you could do the Broncos, you could do the CU Buffalo. There's all kinds of stuff, right? But they do a client event surrounding opening day for their baseball team. So they start talking to people about that 1 to 2 months in advance, right? Their third quarter is this year's letter sent out in July. And it's basically a market update and what they've had happening and seeing in the market in the first 6 months of the year. And then in the fourth quarter, they do a small refrigerator magnet that is sent out. And guess where refrigerator magnets end up? Especially if they're little calendars.
In the trash.
Oh, that's not where they often show up. Where does
On the refrigerator.
They don't stick to stainless steel refrigerators.
Yeah.
Well, then put some Velcro on it.
Okay.
There are ways, but the point is, right, to send something out. That's why I like to mail Rocky schedules, Nuggets Avalanche schedules, and Broncos schedules. Why do I send those things?
People keep them.
They end up on the refrigerator or the side of the refrigerator if it's stainless steel.
Yeah.
Okay. They host 2 events a year. They do one, the big one is their opening day for their baseball team. And then some of them, they do smaller events with smaller groups of community. So if it's a neighborhood, maybe they do a garage sale in the neighborhood, or maybe they do a drinks in the driveway in the neighborhood. And so they do a big one and then a little one. So I'm going to give you guys all some insider information that haven't been with us for very long. Okay. In December, our market center hosts for all of the agents to invite their sphere to an event with the guy from the North Pole. So we do a breakfast with Santa. It's usually the first or second weekend in December. More information will come your way. However, you can invite your entire database to that event. And guess who your database thinks is sponsoring it? You guys. So low cost to you. I will tell you, I have hosted my own breakfast with Santas for several years. They run anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. If you join in the market center, it might cost you $50 or $100. But it's a great way to reach out to people because you get to mail them and call them. Okay. All right. Questions so far? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
All right. That's what I want to see. 12 emails. So an email a month. But this can be a variety of things. You normally want it to be some kind of update to your database. A lot of people use in our business, the monthly neighborhood nurture, right? Which gives them visibility into what's happening from a market perspective. Some agents will do a monthly neighborhood nurture and then layer in a newsletter. Like you can do all kinds of fun stuff with those, right? But what are you building? And here's the thing. If you build that monthly email system, in some ways you build it and you never touch it again. Right? You put somebody into the monthly neighborhood nurture. Now they are automatically getting an email from you every month and you're not having to do a doggone thing. Okay. That's called leverage. Okay. So use command to get those 12 emails out a month. Okay. And then the last one, which is so different than anything that I'll bet most of you have heard when we talk about a 36 touch plan, but this one caught my attention. 24 social media posts. So in a year, 24 posts. So that's 2 social media posts a month that are business related. Okay. You can still post more than that. And I want you to, because social media is about being social and people getting to know you. Right? What are your 5 passions? And that is what you should be talking about on your social media. Okay. So for those of you in the room that have been my friends for on social for a while, what are my passions?
Bowling,
Bowling,
family.
my family.
Basketball.
Huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do like March Madness. I'll give you that one. Okay.
Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
I travel. Yep. And my real estate business, right? Did you catch that? My friends and family know about me, my sphere, my followers. You all know me, or at least you feel like you do. Now, none of you said you knew my political affiliation. None of you said, you know, my faith. Right? There's certain things that we don't go there, right? But what are the things, right? So what are your 5? So if you're posting about 5 passions and you throw in the 2 business ones a month, you've got a really nice balance to your social media. Because what I don't want you to be is this realtor. We all know them. Are you ready? I've got an open house. Hey, look, I got a new listing. Hey, I just sold in a house. Oh, look, I'm at a closing table. Hey, look at me. I got another open house and another listing and another closing. Do you guys know those people? So do your friends. And guess what? Do you know what happens to them?
Unfriended.
Well, unfriend or unfollow.
I flip them off
Right?
a lot.
Or you snooze them, right? You snooze them, right? When it's political time, I snooze those guys too, right? But you don't want to be the realtor that's just real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. But we know if you don't post about it on your personal pages, by the way, you're going to get snooped. They're not going to remember you're in real estate. Right? So it's balancing it. So if you do 2 business posts a month and combine that with the rest of your life, right? Scott takes his kiddo to open houses. I love that because now he's got his kid and his business in one post.
Plus, guess what? His kid is great. And makes really good signs.
Yes, right? So what I'm saying is though, you can combine the 2 at the same time. Okay? So that is Jeff Glover's recipe of how to manage a database. Questions on it? Thoughts on it? You guys are way too quiet for me.
It's a recipe that seems to be working for me, Margaret. I mean, it's not like people are knocking down my door for me to sell their house, but it's something I feel really comfortable with and I get good feedback on. So I think it works for me.
On which part of the recipe are you implementing
The
all of
recipe of
Jeff's?
combining not just real estate all the time, but a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical. But the bigger recipe, the 4 calls, 4 mailers, 2 events, 12 emails, and 24 posts. How does that recipe feel? What are your questions around that?
I feel like for me, it's really easy for me to get like off track almost, because that was one of my, I think like my GPS was events, and I feel like you almost get so busy and then things start to like fall off for me. I'll get like super hyper focused on one thing and then it's like events, I haven't really planned that many.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I got a few minutes. Does anyone else feeling like you could see how that could easily happen? All right.
Definitely happens.
You have to
Does
crawl, walk, run. You know, you can't do it all at once.
You do have to crawl, walk, run, and you need a plan. So if you have a GPS, or when we create your GPS, or you recreate your GPS for mid-year, those things need to go to your calendar. So when are you doing these things? So let's take Taylor's example of an event. Let's say that in August, she's going to host drinks in the driveway for the neighbors in her new neighborhood. Okay. So she's got to pick the date. Like, don't get caught up in it. Pick a date, draw a line in the sand and say, this is it. I kind of envision that like wedding planning. At some point in time, you just got to pick a date. Okay. You got to pick a date and then you back up from there, right? So if you're going to do an event, you pick a date. Well, Stacey will tell you when we plan events, we literally sit in that big training room and we literally lay out a project plan for each event. Now, some of them we can do almost in our sleep because we've done so many of them and they're on a smaller scale. But we start implementing Breakfast with Santa on October 1st. Right? And the date for Breakfast with Santa has probably already been set, probably the year before, because we do it the same weekend every year. Right? So what is your project plan for your big event? And then start chunking it down. So maybe this week for your August neighborhood thing, maybe this week you need to create the invitation. Maybe you just decide which neighbors you're going to invite. And how are you going to do it? So then lay out a plan that gets you through the whole thing. And then take that and put it on your calendar. I don't want you putting on a to-do list because guess what happens to to-do lists?
Mine's getting really long.
Yes,
Find them later.
You find them a month later, they get pushed. Oh, I can do that next week. Oh, I can do that next week. Oh, I can do that next week. But guess what? Do you remember last week when we talked about the rocks in the vase? Who was here last week? I talked about rocks and vases and sand and water. Well, if it's on your GPS, you're going to run an event. Is that a rock or is that water? The answer in that case is probably it depends on the week. Right? But figuring out your invitation list and getting your invitations out on time is a big rock. So when are you going to do that in your calendar? And go put it in your calendar. A calendar is not just for meetings. Right? I got hairdressers on here. I have former hairdressers on here. I've got attorneys on here. I got people who live and die by their schedules. Right? It's that same thing. So Erica, my speeding ticket that I got, I didn't really get one, but let's pretend I did.
Sure.
And let's pretend I might have had a cocktail with it too. Okay. We'll make it a little real. Okay. We got a big court date coming up. When do you plan? The night before?
It depends on when you hire me, but if you give me enough time, no, I don't.
Exactly. Right. So you and I, we would have a planning session and we would schedule conversation times to talk about strategy. We'll talk about all these different steps to get ready for how to get Margaret out of her speeding ticket with an adult beverage. By the way, it did not happen. I did not get a speeding ticket, and I don't drink when I have an adult beverage. But my point is that there's planning that goes into that big event. There's planning when Christina does my hair. Right? I call her, she schedules the time. She knows she needs about 8 different colors to put in it, so she has to go buy those colors. Okay, so your business is the same. So if you're planning an event, when is it? And then what has to be done? And literally put it on your calendar. People who see my calendar on a regular basis will see things like it literally says, call Josh. Right? Or it will say, write this class. Because it's a big rock. And if I don't put it on my calendar, guess what's going to happen? My kid's going to want lunch, or there's going to be something else that comes in. And then next thing you know, I'm up until midnight working on it. Make sense? But the problem is you can't call people at midnight. You might be able to write a paper, but you cannot call people at midnight. So the key to that, Taylor, I think, is to move that to-do list into your calendar.
Yeah.
And always leave your calendar some oops time. Okay. All right. That was fun today. Did you guys have fun? Please tell me you took something away from it. All right. So here's my favorite part. All right, Mike, what we talked about today are you going to implement in your business?
I am going to be more focused on the DTD2 for sure.
Okay.
I kind of had spaced that out recently, and you bringing it up reminded me that I need to be focused on that for sure.
Yep. And here's the beauty. That's why we don't always tell you about it just once. Okay. All right. Erica, how about you? What are you going to take away today?
I think I'm with Taylor. I need to put my to-do list in my calendar. Phone calls,
Okay.
text messages, all that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Love that. Okay, Marquis.
Yeah, same with me. I think it's adding things to my actual calendar. Right now, I'm a little scrambled everywhere. Feels like I'm drowning. So adding everything to its own time will definitely help me out.
It changed my life. Okay, Nicole, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm going to set a date. I think I do too much overthinking and I end up not following through sometimes. So just plan it, set a date, and keep moving forward.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Liz, how about you?
Similar to Nicole's, I am scheduling things on my calendar right now and adding them. If it's something to schedule and something that I can add to my task list, I'm adding it there because that's where I tend to go, and it feels more accomplished for me to cross things off of my list when they're on a list, and then it feels good and productive. So working on that right now.
Love it. Elena.
I am also an overthinker, so I need to put things on my calendar so it's not on a to-do list, but then also only allot myself a reasonable amount of time and just do it. And if it's not perfect, it's fine.
And I noticed that your social media posting went way up since we met last, so I love that. Christina.
I just had a meeting with Chris Voorhees last week, and I'm going to get on my command smart plans and database.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. In the room, Stephanie, what are you going to take away today?
Well, I'm sitting here looking for pictures of ice cream because I'm doing an ice cream event in July, my first one. So slowly but surely I'm getting there. Great.
So you're going to project plan that ice cream social because it's the middle of
doing it.
June. All right,
Yeah.
Jamie.
Well, I am looking at the squirrels and I am still trying to decide what I should really be doing. I think, again, like I'm an overthinker and I just get myself overwhelmed and then I step back because I'm too overwhelmed. So I think I need to focus on my events, but also smart plans and getting things out that are automatic.
Yep. Well, once you recover from the jet lag, go back and look at your notes from our last meeting when we definitely started on some of that. So I love that.
Yes.
In the back, I see Scott.
I think it's just a lot of database maintenance with implementing some of that DTC stuff.
Yep. Yep. And you guys, you won't have this perfect. I've been in this business for 9 years and I'm still working on all of these things I'm talking about with the database and getting updated information and more information in there. Kevin, how about you?
Well, first, let me say, I'm sorry I was late today. I had a coffee with the lender today this morning, so. But she agreed to share a mailing with me for a large apartment complex for new home buyers. So I think that was worthwhile. I've got an event sort of out there that I do on an annual basis with a high school alumni group that I run on Facebook. It's a really big group. And so I got to kind of put the details to that. We usually do it at the Rock Rest. And so I just got to put the details to that. It'll be an event that I can do that really won't cost me anything. So
Those are the best kind.
yeah,
They are.
so
All right, Taylor.
I think I'm such a planner that I just need to set aside some time to plan for the next month, because if it's not on my calendar, it just lands on a to-do list and I never end up doing it.
Yep. It's a good point, right? The key
Calendar
to
text
calendar.
my back.
Yeah, so the calendar is huge, right? The calendar, like I literally, if you looked at my calendar normally, there is planning time for the next week. There's planning time for the next month. So as an example, you guys know I'm traveling, or I'm not in Colorado. Last night, we finally got back to where we were at, and I pulled up my phone because in my brain, I didn't have to be to the office until this call started at 10 o'clock. Thankfully, I looked at my calendar because I had a different appointment that started at 9 o'clock that I had forgotten about. So because I had it in my calendar, I didn't stand somebody up this morning and I just got going earlier, and here I am, right? So looking ahead into that calendar, I spend time every night. I look at what's tomorrow. On Sunday nights, I look, what does this week look like? Usually towards the end of June, I'll be looking at what does July look like? What do I need to move around? What do I need to tweak if it's things that needs to happen? So planning to plan is important as long as you don't do too much time on it. Okay. If you need help with your calendar, if you need accountability to your calendar, it's super easy. You take a screenshot of your calendar and you text it to me. It can be daily, it can be weekly, whatever you want. So you send it to me. So if it's daily, you text it to me in the morning and say, this is what I'm going to do today. And then at night, you text it to me and say, this is what I got done. And that's where we start to identify those things that gotcha, the gotchas, and then we can learn how to calendar for the gotchas, like when your kid wants lunch. So I hope you guys had a good day. I had fun with you guys today. So next week we will be back here, same time, same place. And please stay, for those of you that are in the room, please stay put, because Stacy's going to take you to the regional call. For those of you that are on Zoom, you should have got an email from the region. Make sure you jump on the regional call. Abe Shreve is somebody who runs a big business planning program, and he's going to bring some good stuff to it, as well as celebrate the big winners from last month. So call me, text me, let me know what I can help you. Get on my calendar with your one-on-ones, and let's go finish out the month strong. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.